Hey, so I'm here to make a little video about what is the reason, the inspiration behind Sekoly Kintana and the Kintana Institute and how you can help. So just to give a few facts before I get into the inspiration part, is in Madagascar, it's estimated by the World Bank and UNICEF that only about 64% of kids actually even attend primary school. Of those kids that attend primary school, 27% drop out before they even finish. In terms of who goes to school, more boys than girls go. There's still, in terms of gender equity, there's fewer girls going to school than boys. And in terms of things like teacher ratios, there's about one teacher for every 50 kids in the primary school system in Madagascar. On top of that, only about 15% of teachers are actually certified teachers with proper education. And even those that have a proper education lack resources. And so the entire school system is struggling in Madagascar. So we live in Fort Dauphin, and we've got two kids of our own. And so we've tried two different schools, and in terms of what we want to give to our own children, even the schools that we're able to access at our income level and whatnot here in the town that we live in, really don't live up to the social emotional and the sort of STEAM type subjects that we would hope to have for our children. I personally was extremely lucky to have grown up in Boulder. I was able to attend Bixby, which is sort of a holistically inspired Bank Street school in which there's sort of Montessori methods and other methods, but in which I was really, my ability to learn as a human was really honored and celebrated from a very young age. And so I have amazing experiences of learning how to do things, understanding what an atom was, for example, when I was 5 years old, understanding what the Milky Way was when I was 5 years old, learning to read and write and do math in a way that made the experience fun for me. And so I would really like to give this experience to my children, and I would really like to give this experience to many other children here in Madagascar. There's also other challenges in Madagascar. In terms of language, Malagasy is the national language. It is the maternal language of the majority of children going to school here, and yet it is not favored in schools. Because French is sort of on the hierarchy, a better language, I don't agree with that, but that's often how it's seen and treated. Many children are taught in French from a very early age. Even though their teachers are not necessarily proficient in French, they haven't necessarily passed the test that they should have passed to be teaching French. And so what you get is a situation in which kids are not really getting a solid education. They're kind of learning to speak French, they're kind of learning to speak Malgache, and they're not really becoming literate in either. And so what we would really like to do is create a early childhood education center and school, as well as a primary school that will eventually one day continue all the way up to high school, which addresses the social emotional development of children, that also addresses that really important need to provide opportunity for early childhood literacy in the child's maternal language. So for most of our students, that will be in Malgache. But we also envision having some students whose maternal language may be French or whose maternal language may be English. And we will also be working to create a program, an early literacy program, that will allow those children to learn in their maternal language. And so who will benefit from our services? Primarily local Malgache kids, kids whose parents already have a job, who have access to resources, but who may not have access to the better schools in town. We also envision being able to offer scholarships to kids that might normally be going into the public school system, but who aren't thriving there. And so really this idea is to create a community school that really uplifts and supports the community. We also, through the Kintana Institute, plan to offer teacher development, coaching services, and resource development so that we can also provide greater support to the wider community and to be able to access and support more students that way. So the impact that we hope to achieve is that we hope to transform the face of education in Madagascar, starting in our little town of Fort Dauphin. These first funds that we're raising, the reason I'm doing a GoFundMe to start off with, is really sort of the chicken or the egg. There's a few things we have to have in place to have the right to open a school legally in Madagascar, a private school. And one of those, for example, is to be able to secure a 5-year to 6-year lease on a building. We also need to do the initial paperwork, legal paperwork, those sorts of things, which do have fees. We want to work with professionals to make sure that we're setting up a proper sister nonprofit in the United States so that we can continue to do fundraising there. Setting up a nonprofit in the United States is a little bit more expensive than the business costs in Madagascar. We have some teacher training programs that we would like to access. We have some consultants that we would like to pay. So far, I've been paying the one consultant we're working with out of my own pocket. And so we would like to raise up to about 15,000 US dollars as soon as possible to really get over these initial hurdles. And then we will do proper fundraising as a nonprofit, and with hopes of also accessing some grants, maybe eventually creating an endowment, those sorts of things, as well as having some funds from tuition. That said, given the economic status in Madagascar, it is unlikely, at least in the first 3 to 4 years of our school, that we would be able to cover all of our operating costs, particularly resource development and teacher training that we would need to do with the amount of tuition that we can charge here. So your investment in this school, your investment in the future of these children will be greatly appreciated and will be hugely impactful. Thank you.